Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Basil Swartz and I am getting straight to the point. So today's topic is about walking in obedience. If you go to John 14 verse 15, it states there, Jesus is speaking and he says there, if you love me, keep my commandments. Now, as you can clearly see, based on that verse, love requires actions, or love follows action. So in short, you can also say that love is an action word, as is faith is an action word, believing is an action word, even applying peace is an action word. Now, with love that follows action, if you are basically in a relationship with a partner now specifically, if you love that person, you will basically obey what rules they have set out, or the boundaries that they have set out in that relationship. So you do that out of love and not out of requirement or based on the instruction that I have to. You're not compelled to be obedient, but because you love that person, you are basically obedient towards them. Now, this same principle then applies to Christ. Because you love Christ so much, you are basically obeying God's word or the commandments that has been set out, not out of compulsion or like based on the instruction that has been given, but because you love God, you're basically reflecting the love of Christ that he has for God. So yes. And then point number 2 is then obedience is rooted in faith and in trust. If you go to Proverbs 3 verse 5 and 6, it states there, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. Always acknowledge him in all your ways and he will make your path straight. So that is basically an instruction. With obedience comes faith and trust. You showing God that, listen, Lord, your ways is higher than my ways. Your work, the way you do things is better than mine. You're acknowledging that he is in control. Therefore, you are basically trusting him. And by trusting him, you are basically obedient towards God. And I can even prove that. You go to Isaiah 55 verse 8 and 9. It states there, God is speaking and says, my thoughts and my ways are not like yours. Just as the heavens are higher than the earth, so is my thoughts and my ways higher than yours. So basically God is then showing that God's ways is better and higher than yours. Now if you trust him in faith, then you should then also be obedient towards Christ then. And then point number 3 is obedience requires attentiveness. If you go to John 14 verse 27, if I'm not mistaken, let me just correct that. Now it's John 10 verse 27. Yes, it states there that my sheep hear my voice. Jesus is speaking. It says, my sheep hear my voice and I know them and they follow me. So basically, when Jesus gives you the instruction, you are basically attentive to what he is basically saying. Let's take it back to the relationship. If your partner instructed you or told you that they do not like something that you are doing, you are basically must now going to be attentive not to do it again because it hurts them or it makes them sad or angry. So you are going to be attentive on what they have told you, and then you will make sure that you do not do that again. Now the same principle applies here again. The word Jesus is speaking here and to his sheep. Now you need to be attentive to hear his voice in certain scenarios and then also be obedient towards that. So obedience definitely requires attentiveness, because the reason why you don't cheat is because you are attentive to the boundaries that has been set. It's because of the love that you have for that person. Therefore you will obey then the rules that has been set. You may do this, you may not do this, and so now moving to the practical steps on how to basically be obedient. If you go to Psalms 119, verse 105, it states that your word is a lamp to my feet. It gives light wherever I go. So basically, the emphasis is here. You need to stay in the word. You need to study the commandments to actually be obedient to the commandments. Then practical way number 2 is that you have to pray for a obedient heart. If you go to Ezekiel 36 verse 26, God is speaking there and he says that I will give you a new heart and I will put a new spirit in you. I will take away this heart of stone from your flesh and I will put in a heart of flesh in your flesh. So basically you need to pray to God that your heart be more obedient, but then also remember it is an application. After you prayed, start applying obedience to that word so that your heart can become flesh and not then of stone. And then point number 3 is that you need to be in a healthy environment where Christ-like people meet together. If you go to Hebrews 10 verse 24 till 25, it says there, let us consider to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting the get together of the saints as some have that habit to do so, always encouraging as one another as the day draw near. So your environment definitely plays a big role in your obedience, because your friends or the people that you surround yourself will keep you accountable to keep yourself obedient, or keep that action and like, listen, yeah, obedience out of love, not just out of a requirement and so. And then moving on to point number 4, which is step in faith. Always step in faith. If you go to Hebrews 11 verse 8, it states that there, by faith Abraham obeyed the voice of God that promised him, basically, that he will enter the land that was promised to him, and so forth. So with that said, and it goes further and it states that Abram basically went out not knowing where to basically go. So that is basically step out that faith, step out in faith, because you trust God and therefore you will make sure that you will just follow his voice. But that comes with having the relationship and trusting Jesus in that. And then also point number 5, trust in the blessings or believe in the blessings that Jesus or God has set out. If you go to Deuteronomy 28 verse 1 and 2, it states there, if you faithfully listen to the voice of the Lord your God, keeping all these commandments that I have been giving, that I give you today, the Lord your God will lift you high above all the nations on this earth, and you will have all these blessings, and all the blessings will come upon you and overtake you if you obey the Lord your God. And so that is basically the practical steps on how to be more obedient towards God, and Christ living that, as well as how to do that. And so remember, obedience is not an overnight thing, it is a journey. But if you stay faithful to that journey and to Christ and having more love towards him, then you will definitely achieve obedience on that as well. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, share, turn on your notification, and you gotta stay blessed. I will see you in the next. Bye.